on this earth. If it's in your heart, it's in the stars. So read the script, play a part. High priestess or king of fire. It's hanging man, queen of cups. Give it thought and give it love, cause you're sleeping the night away, as if you won't see the light of day. But if you hear this, I know who you are. You got it. Perfect track record so far.
Hello, everyone. Rayanimator Reviews. We're based out of the Lehigh Valley. We're a horror-themed YouTube channel. We're also a husband and wife. I'm Rayanne. This is Joey. And we have the supreme pleasure of introducing you to Aphasia, brought by our wonderful friends, Jerks Productions. And Chris, come on up.
Yeah!
Too late to be fucking shot. All right, again, I want to thank everybody for coming out to the world premiere of Aphasia. This film has taken over 4 years? 4 years to make. We started it as soon as pandemic hit because it was a literal do or die situation. That if we didn't do it, we would probably die. And that's kind of what almost happened with it. We went through a lockdown. We went through everything you can fucking imagine with this. And we were lucky enough to have people that were so on board and ready to be creative and to just want to create something that is very special, very independent, and just local, and that's what we like to do here. We're all a local community of people that came together to put this thing together. And we would not be able to do this if it wasn't for literally everybody sitting in this room right now. So give yourselves a big round of applause. Kristen, do you guys want to say anything before we get this thing started?
Yeah, so I was DP on this project. It was a huge learning experience for me. I worked very closely with Brandon here, and first full-length feature, and I'm super excited to see a packed house tonight. So.
Hey guys, I'm Jill. I'm the producer for Jerks Productions. 4 years of literal blood, sweat, and tears to get us here, and 2 binders to get us here. Many crock-pot meals later, and I'm so goddamn proud of everything we've done and all of you guys for coming out to celebrate with us tonight. I hope you like everything we've done. Here we go.
Yeah!
When the movie is done, do not leave immediately. We will be doing a Q&A with some of the cast and crew of whoever would like to come up and join us. That will be run by Joey and Rayanne here, Rayanimator Reviews, and a big shout out to them for taking the trip down and hanging out with us tonight. Big round of applause for everyone. We have nothing out on the board. We have everybody that's here, kicking ass and keeping art fucking independent. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy it.
Definitely want to bring up Brandon and Jill also. Come on up here. There he is.
Brandon!
So our first question question for Brandon was, if you don't know us, we are avid cat people. So the whole movie, we all want to know, where was Sarah's cat?
There was a beautiful photo of her on her desk right before she hung herself. And that was our cat Abigail. It is a photo of our cat Abigail. At the time, she had 2 eyes. Now she has 1.
She's there. We really thought that we were going to see one. We were definitely going to see your cat in that. We were looking at every background. We even stopped it, went back, and I was like, I think no, that's not it. So that was our number one question. First thing I'd like to ask is for anybody who wants to answer this, what was your favorite memory from making this movie? Anybody?
Demons.
Huh?
Mini demons.
Mini teams.
Being able to see.
Being able to see.
This Jade does my makeup often, and this is the first film with Jerks and Jade that I was able to see and speak. So,
I can imagine that can be.
I don't even know where to begin with that question. So my favorite part of it was the scene I'll never forget is that throw up scene. Because it was like, are you ready? Are you ready? It's like, I'm never going to be ready for this. That's a genuine reaction. It's like, but it was so much fun.
I mean, we had a lot of fun behind the scenes, filming stuff, because it's just a fun group. I mean, the oatmeal scene is a memory.
It's a memory for all of us now.
That's something. So that's probably the one that sticks out the most. That and Drea, who isn't here, throwing up on me.
I think for me it was the same thing. It was Drea throwing up on me. In order to shoot that, I had to. We tried to put the camera underneath, but I actually had to go lay down in a full poncho and everything, so I could get it the focus right and everything. So that was
During COVID, the actual vomit out of the mouth thing that we had to duct tape Chris in a poncho and face mask so that when it came out, it didn't get in his mouth or his eyes.
We got the shot before I ran out of air, so that was good.
I think probably picking the worst times of years to do every scene. We had you in sweaters in the middle of summer, and we just did what we had to do, and it was sweating to death. And just I know you. I'm sorry.
I think I had 3 shirts somewhere through that day.
We had a good time, but we had so much fun behind the scenes of just playing country one day. We entertained ourselves. Everyone was playing guitar one day. We had a good time. Or Jade.
Probably the oatmeal scene. I was sitting under the table the whole time, making the tongue go in and out while it was poured down my arm at this table.
We have the tongue here, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
We can grab said
We have
penetrating tongue.
tongue, sir.
Who's fully. We had this whole guy, and then we had another one on a stick, and then we had another one. There were 4 tongues.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to play with
Back some great memories. It doesn't.
Yeah, it was maple and brown sugar oatmeal. No, it was cooking oatmeal. It's yummy. Delicious.
So the way the movie does end, it's obviously not the happy ending that you kind of expect, after being traumatized through 90 minutes. Do you have any plans to maybe build upon this and make a sequel the way you left it all?
I don't really know. I like open-ended stuff. I don't like happy endings. I feel like it's a metaphor of life. Life isn't always great, and not everyone is going to win, and sometimes that's just how it does end. And who knows what could happen? I can't speak for it now because that's not where my brain is at, and maybe my brain will hit it again at some point. But right now, I don't know, and that's like the nicest thing I can say, other than life doesn't always have a happy ending.
That's true. Period.
I know we were when we watched it for the advanced screening, when we reviewed it on our channel, we were traumatized by, I'm like, oh, there's our friend Brandon, and then I'm just seeing him getting beaten to death. Longest old Bible. You obviously, you put yourself in the movie, but you only put yourself in literally like the first 5 minutes. Was that like always the plan, or?
No, it's access. We work with who we have and what we have. That's why it's 100% DIY, that I was not supposed to be in it. And when it came to a point of being in it, I was like, well, I need to die. And that's just what it has to be. And being beat to death with a Bible just made the most sense. And one of the best things about that scene is when Mike here, who's sitting down, was the person who beat the shit out of me. We had one moment where a tape where it did slip and it fell and cracked me right in the shoulder, and we had to like dust off the shirt because it was just like book dust and just like a tear that just went right into my shoulder blade, and that shit weighed about like 30 pounds.
It was a big Bible.
Yeah. Filled with beautiful illustrations. Like some of the stuff that's in the movie was taken directly from that Bible. It was great. It was a family Bible that we haggled some lady down at the flea market.
That's the most independent art thing I've ever heard. Does anybody have any questions?
Me.
Go ahead. Oh, I pointed at some.
Oh, that was me?
I heard someone say me.
Sorry.
I heard
I
somebody
wasn't
say
sure.
me.
I was like, oh my gosh. First of all, I want to say congrats to all of you amazing artists. Really, congratulations. The acting was phenomenal, and the makeup also, wow. I have 2 questions. The first question, I guess, is for Brandon or whoever helped write it and create it and all that. But there was like a good balance of like seriousness and like tones of like, mental illness and like demonic stuff, and then also like funny things at the same time. So it was like a good balance in my opinion. I was wondering like where you got some of that inspiration, what films inspired you, and how did you know where to draw the line on the seriousness?
I think it's mainly because my brain is filled with cartoons and monster movies. So it's kind of a balance of that. I think one of the more obvious inspirations from this is Evil Dead, and Evil Dead 2 specifically. That was a huge influence in this, and like that was just the play off the comedy and horror thing because it works so well together and blended. And I didn't want us to go into something that was so diehard serious because I want people to know that like making this stuff is fun.
Mm-hmm.
And with that in my head of like, there's a good balance between, kooky and scary. Like you can just put it out there and just ham it up as much as possible and just have a good time with it.
Yeah, you could definitely tell when the cast is like having fun with it, and it was a great balance. Another question I had was for the makeup artist, Jade, right? Yes. Amazing work. So good. I've been into watching Face Off recently, so I'm like watching all the behind the scenes. I feel like I know, but I was curious, like what was your favorite like special effects thing to create? Your work is great. I saw the face, like wow, very detailed.
Probably the demon putting their hand in her mouth. Yeah. That one. Even though we were doing a lot of work, I decided to bring up an idea to Brandon, which gave me more work. But it came out really good. I really like the effect and stuff like that. And once he heard it, he was like, yeah, Jill was kind of upset. She was like, what? More work? But it was fun.
The payoff was there, the literal fisting of the mouth.
Yeah, that was a fun scene to shoot. Oh, yeah.
So was that her actual mouth or was that the mask?
She's like, no. She's like, no, it was not. No, it was not. Yeah, so.
See, like it's uncanny, right?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we had another question right here.
This is a question for Jill and Brandon.
I know that you filmed the exterior and interior of a church, and this is a film with a lot of Christian themes and demonic entities that win. How did you portray that to this church? I mean, were they on board with what you were making?
You can take that one.
We went through a couple different churches that didn't pan out. I had to promise that we weren't making an adult film, which I said we were not. Wasn't clear on everything else that was going to happen, but I said I can promise there's no nudity. We ended up using an old church that was no longer in use, and they didn't care because it was used as a daycare. So she kind of let us go until she came drunk one night and kind of kicked us out. Yeah, so the idea was to use an abandoned church because all the other churches did not agree.
Yeah, the church that we were going to originally use, that we wanted to use, was the one that you saw in the opening, which was Immaculate Conception, which was my home church growing up. They were on the abandoned list. When I called the Archdiocese, they said to me, that building is not deemed safe for humans. So we couldn't go there, and then so I went to my grade school in Fishtown, and trying to get their church, and they're like, yeah, we have to run this by the Archdiocese. I don't think this is gonna happen, and they just like stopped calling me. Yep, that's how that happened.
I can't imagine what the church wouldn't like about this. I can't think of one thing. Right here?
Hey, this would be for Brandon and Chris.
Not
So, sorry. So, this is the first feature length that you've done. So, what were some of the things that both of you had to learn to do filmmaking wise in order to make this that you never really did with the shorter film? And then also, like Brandon, same thing, but with the story.
Chris, if you want to go first.
Yeah, for me, it was just kind of, I mean, it was very similar to shorter projects. It was just a lot more. And I think the biggest thing was utilizing spaces and shooting out of order was really the big thing. Like, in order to get this done in such a way, we had it by like location. We did all the scenes by location, and like the diner scene, we had access to that for maybe like, was it like a couple weeks?
Yeah, it was like two weekend shoots we had for that.
Yeah.
Overnight shoots.
And just trying to like, I think really it was just like the scheduling aspect more than anything. And other than that, it's really quite similar.
As far as storytelling goes, I'm used to summon things up very quickly. So except for when I speak, apparently. But no, it was one of those things where it was like I had to learn how to just stretch and grow, and the hardest part of that is like, I'm gonna put this fucking wacky tongue out of an oatmeal thing in there. I'm gonna make this little baby demon attack this guy's face. Because it makes sense. That's what I need to know. Like, I need to make sure that it flows and it fits well. So that's always the hardest part, is making sure something actually is cohesive. So with that, it was learning how to take everything by greater beats and just being like, okay, this happens to this, and then the cause and effect thing. So it was just really learning how to grow that and not write like the ending first, and just let it flow for what it is.
And also just roll with the punches too. Like a lot of times you'll have something planned out, and you'll go to the location and 50 to 60% of it just flies out the window. Like, we can't do that. That wasn't what we expected. So we kind of had to, just improvise with what we had.
Like Hanging Jess.
Yeah.
Was it all scripted then?
Yeah, we created a shot list for every scene. So every take was planned out in advance. There were a few things that we kind of, again, we had to like improvise with, but that worked out in the end. Yeah.
I'd say about 80% of it was scripted, and then like a good 20% was just like on the fly of like, or just coming up with ideas in the spot. Like when you go to a different location, like when we're shooting in that tiny kitchen, and we're just like, oh, like we can put the camera on top of the fridge, or we can do this, and like, let's see what happens and play with it. It's all about exploring.
Right here in the front.
I figured because of time, maybe it wasn't explained, but I was wondering why the cops were never called.
There was actually a scene written out for that, and when we did the script breakdown and this and that, it would halt the story too much. It would be over explanation, and we want to entertain as well as inform, but no one wants to sit there and watch someone do a police report of, oh yeah, this person is now dead. You woke up and she's dead. Yeah.
Why the title?
Why the title, Aphasia? Aphasia came to us from our amazing poster artist, Shayna Feinstein, who did this beautiful painting. The title came about when we were first doing it because it was titleless. And we weren't sure what we were going to do. We had the poster idea in mind. And throughout the movie, after her hanging, she had lost a bit of her speech. She kind of spoke very scratchy, and then with the idea of demon infiltration and clouding her brain, which was very similar to what the disease was doing and basically like rotting her from the inside out. So it was basically kind of just like another way to describe what this disease was when she brought it to our attention, and we thought it fit really well with what the story was.
That was also my question. Scratch that off. Anybody in the back there?
Yeah. For Jessica and Shannon, when you guys are in the demon makeup, you guys look like you're wearing like dentures or fake teeth. Did it make it hard, like saying your lines with those?
Well, my lines were like.
Yes. But it didn't help that my lines were names of demons that were hard to pronounce anyway. But it was a little difficult, a little bit of an adjustment, but I mean, we worked through it. It was a demon, so it didn't matter.
It sounded like shit, then you were like, okay, this makes sense.
That even sounds like
Yeah, exactly. We have time.
To piggyback on the demon side of things, Shannon, you have been Demoness of the Year into this movie, 100%. And I want to mainly just like thank you for being like that one to just be like, oh, you guys just need to like paint my entire body and throw this shit in my mouth. Like, fine, let's do this. And just I cannot appreciate someone more to be more than willing to be like, oh yeah, that's fine. Let's do. I'm gonna shove my fingers in Josh's mouth. Okay, let's go for it. So I want to appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys. It's always a lot of fun and it's a new experience. So like, why not say yes to everything that you throw at me? I'm just happy I could see. Like that was my main thing. I could see and my mouth could move again.
For that reference, you gotta watch our short film, Divine Inspiration. Watch that one and you'll see exactly what Shannon was talking about when she couldn't see, hear, or speak. That was a good one.
All right, in the back here.
I have a question for our demons over here. How did it feel like for y'all as actors to tap into this role of like a demonic being and like, you know, go from like regular Jegula to like demon, and like what is that for you with like your acting careers? Have y'all been demons before? Like how's that?
Do you want to become demons?
I think the makeup helps, honestly. Once you're in the makeup and you actually like, it's like startling to see your reflection in the mirror. But yeah, it's just practice, and it's not like we had to jump back and forth a lot. So once you're in that mindset, you just kind of go. I mean, for Sarah, she kind of talked fast speed most of the movie. The only time we really threw a curveball was her church scene. Which,
that was all you. I had no idea that was happening, and then all of a sudden I hear this baby voice coming out. I'm thinking, what the fuck?
So yeah, we just played around with a bunch of different stuff. I mean, you take different takes, so these guys are great saying, all right, try it a different way if you want to try it a different way, and we just kind of go from there.
I think for me, I have played a demon before, and it's just really like fulfilling because you're like acting on just like being like this feral character. It's like you all are angry most of the time, so being able to like scream and express yourself and kind of just get weird is like, all right, cool. And then you're done, you're like, I feel better. It's stress relief.
If you ever need to release some stress, just dress up like a demon and go out on Gerard.
Exactly.
Walk around and grab.
It's not very uncommon. Like I see a lot of demons on Gerard.
So my question, I have another question for Brandon. Where did you think up with this? Other than like your, cartoons and monster movies in your head, like out of all the ways to go with like a demon possession movie, what kind of made you steer this way?
Well, when I was originally coming up with the concept, I didn't want the build-up, so it was originally a short film that was written to be like the end that the character of Ryder was going to be coming into an exorcism already happening. So like the tail end of the movie was what the original concept was supposed to be. And then pandemic hit. And it was like, you know what, we haven't written a feature yet, we haven't attempted a feature yet. So let's try and do this. And I want to take everything that I love in different movies and make it my own, but make things that you don't always see. So like, we keep talking about the oatmeal. The oatmeal scene, for example, was a nod to Nightmare on Elm Street, if anyone caught that one with the phone. And it was like, okay, cool, like that's a great scene, that's really effective and creepy and gross. I hate oatmeal with a passion. I wanted to do it with that. I was like, oh, breakfast time. No one has that shit. Who's sitting there with a demon and like to take the power and make fun of it and like be able to do these things. You don't see those types of things. So I wanted to like emphasize that and let that be what it is. And at the time of pandemic, everyone had time for a bunch of things, and we binge watched Twin Peaks from beginning to end, and a lot of that became a huge influence of like allowing weird things to be weird just for the sake of it. And if people either find it normal, then they're on my level, and just playing with it. And I think that's where a lot of that really came from. I just wanted to take things that you didn't see and emphasize.
And your hatred of oatmeal.
And my hatred of oatmeal.
Okay. Now that all makes sense.
Yeah.
Right here.
So what are some of the takes that we're going to see on the 10th anniversary gag reel?
Literal gagging from all of us. I don't know.
Well, we do have an alternate ending.
We do have an alternate ending. Yes. I guess I can spill it. It was a much happier ending. Our two heroes here did save the day, and Sarah went on to live a very quiet life in a white jacket in a room. No, there was an alternate ending where they did save her, and it just didn't resonate well. And there's a lot of different alternative takes and scenes throughout this movie that would probably be seen. Like longer, tiny demon stuff. And I know we only got the one, we got that microwave kill. It was a lot of fun. Just for time purposes, or we were editing as we were shooting, and I said it took like 4 years to make this thing. So as we're going, we're like, oh, we can trim that, we can make that, or make it better and emphasize it. And that's just what we did with it.
Ray, you got a question?
Yeah, I had a question for Dolby. So your character had a lot of the comedy, it seemed like, and it was also funny because it came right in like the most pivotal moment of the movie where they needed you for The Exorcist. What were some of the challenges that you faced with skating this kind of tightrope between being this, the super serious moment in The Exorcism while also being the comedic character that you were?
Well, that actually had to be dialed down a little bit because when I was initially playing it, I straight up was doing nothing but comedy. So like when we got thrown off the bed and ran to the wall, I had a more straight up, like actually terrified face. So they had it dialed down very much Bruce Campbell inspired type of acting, Tommy Wiseau type thing. He's a true thespian if you don't know who Tommy Wiseau is.
Fire me apart, man.
But it was just a lot of it was just having fun. I have a lot of, like with the kitchen scene, that was actually a little bit longer, where it was more slapsticky. And I have a thing where I'm very much okay if people hurt me in films because I think it's hilarious. So if anyone ever needs someone to get smacked in the face with a freezer, just hit me up.
We'll remember that. Somebody else had a question. Don't be shy now. All right. No other questions. I have a question for you, Dolly. What is with the bagel? Why the bagel? Was it because I saw a couple different places in the movie where there was a bagel, and I was like, is this like a thing, or is this just like, hey, we got bagels, put them in the movie?
So that actually ties into the alternate ending.
Oh.
It was originally written that Ryder's character had a more, I guess, Tales from the Crypt Demon Knight side of things, where it was more of a supernatural kind of thing. And what happens is when Ryder goes and rips Jess's character off of Josh, he was supposed to shove the bagel in her mouth. And yeah, a lot of choking, a lot of suffocation. Shoved it in her mouth, which would cause her to vomit and more goo, or it was supposed to happen, and she was supposed to vomit up essentially the demon, and that's what relieved her of the demons in her body. And when communion, yes. Josh improvised the line of he gave her communion, which was amazing.
Jeff Long, by the way.
But
I was raised Catholic, so I was like, yes.
The bagel at the end of the day was supposed to be like a representation of the actual body of Christ, and kind of like expand on like the lineage of what this character is. And it was a lot. And I felt that like as good as an ending as it was, and it ends on such a high note, I'm not a high note person. And I felt like it became more relevant for the story to not have that and be more condensed and let it be the fact of like the film came full circle. In the beginning, we had Father John watch his friend get killed in the very beginning. Now he's watching everyone get killed again around him, and it's just that full circle moment.
I think the next movie needs to be like Ryder origin story.
I'll pull my hair back out.
It's gonna take a little time.
Oh, valid.
I was gonna say she's got it. All right. Anybody else?
I do.
Question? Go ahead.
At the end, when you give that look, Father John, right?
Yes.
What were we supposed to take from that? Were you part of it? Is that?
So I'm gonna just say that, when you get traumatized like that, you don't know what's gonna happen. You're basically like you're crazy now. Or if you come down from it, it's like either I'm gonna do this again or I'm gonna just laugh. I can't. That's pretty much where that look came from, and we wanted to leave it open for interpretation.
Yeah, okay.
I have one that I want to ask everybody. Going down the line, starting with Josh and all the way. When the idea for this film was first pitched to you, this was 4 years ago, so I would love to remember. What was the first thought running through your head of we have this crazy demon possession movie and we want you guys to be a part of it? Like, what was your first thought starting with Josh going down?
My first thought was, bro, I always wanted to be the lead of the movie. Let's do it. I've never done it.
I mean, I did the trailer first, so I guess my first taste was the trailer, and me and Josh did a prior film for them where I was supposed to be hung, and it didn't happen, so I was like, are we really going to do it this time? And that was probably not the first thought, which is like a weird thing to be excited about, but in a movie, it's fun, so that was probably my first thought. I mean, the whole concept was crazy enough to be like, let's do it, let's see where it goes.
I feel like I was like, it's just another really fun project. It's COVID. I'm not doing anything, and I get to hang out with cool people and look pretty cool doing it. So
We hung out safely. I can't
Yes.
safely. We followed protocols of everything. I want to make sure that's emphasized.
sorry guys, I will emphasize I had a hazmat suit on.
Yeah, for me, came across the came to me, it was like, yeah, let's, you know, a 90-minute feature. I always wanted to do that my entire life. And it's a script that is special effects heavy and lighting heavy, and it isn't just a bunch of people talking. And I was like, yeah, well, I'm on board, you know?
Mine was probably, what the fuck are you thinking?
Usually.
I was looking at my phone, I got an email from Brandon being like, hey, you want to do this movie? I was like, this sounds fun. And at the time, I remember, and I could be wrong, I could be confusing with something else, I think the proto title was Near Death.
Yes.
Okay.
It was Near Death, yeah. So I'm glad you were very enthusiastic from the beginning.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear.
For me, I think after I was done reading the script, I was like, who's doing all these effects? It's a lot. Mary asked that the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, so who's gonna do that?
Can I say one more thing real quick? You also told me that Ryder was heavily inspired by the character Detective Cooper from Twin Peaks.
That he was.
And I cannot stress enough, I've never watched Twin Peaks, so I do not rip him off.
All right, somebody else had a question? Right here.
I wasn't gonna ask this until you mentioned the bagel. Yes! It seems like almost all of the demon possession moments have to do with the protagonist, Sarah's mouth. The demons are ripping into her mouth, stuff's going into the mouth, puking is going into the mouth, pukes coming out of the mouth. And how do we know that a bagel was gonna be shoved in there?
Brandon, what's up with that?
Can you psychologically explain that?
Yeah. There's two things that completely freak me out. It's eye stuff and the act of not being able to breathe. So, like, a lot of emphasis, I guess, was put on that. Jess, how do you feel about all the mouth stuff that went on?
I don't know. I guess. I mean, we filmed over 4 years, so it's not like we did everything. One right after
We did
the
just have
other.
mouth.
Yeah.
Days, but we didn't have
I think it came from like that fear of just like choking from me, and just also like I feel like people will get squeamish if they see things like that, and the reverse shot we got of the hand going into said mouth I thought would be like very effective and creepy.
I'll tell you, the fingernails did it for me going down. They were starting to bend back. I was like, oh god, that's the fingernails do it for me every time. Question?
Yes, I have one for Sarah. Especially because I was really inspired by the makeup artist for her. Like, I thought, like, hands down, that was insane. You know, the amount of makeup it probably took to get into that demon character in the end. How long did it take, I guess, for that scene to be filmed with all of that makeup?
The makeup took a while. I loved being in the makeup chair. It was pretty relaxing, but it did take a while. We did some makeup tests too, and like we had stages of like, I mean, Jake could probably answer that better, but yeah, it took a long time to sit there, and you're just kind of getting in character, I guess, as we're sitting there, and me and Jake would just talk while they were getting lights set up and whatnot. So I'd say the longest was, I don't know, 4 hours, 3 hours.
Well, 3 at one time. That was like our first time, but after we did it a couple times, it started getting down at least 2 hours.
Oh, practice.
Shannon's makeup though was 3 or 4 hours. That one for sure, because she had her back as well, her arms and face and everything. So yeah, she had the longest makeup.
It looks awesome.
Questions in the back.
Yeah. So first of all, I wanted to send on for makeup. That back piece was so cool with like the orange crackle. Like, you're so talented. But also, I had a question for Father John, right? At the end, I'm sorry, Father John, right? Father, amen. I just thought that your character was like a really good in between of like, I felt like at first, I think you were like halfway through the demon phase, I think, right? Because you were having the dreams and like, but like you were also like sane enough to be like, we need help. Like, what do you think, like, I don't know, maybe my question is like, how do you think your character really helped balance out like the in-between moments of like, we need to do something, but also like I'm part of it? Like, how do you feel about, that's like a weird in-between to be part of. Like, I don't know. Like, how do you feel about that?
So, I kind of felt like a bridge between two worlds, but like I was also slipping.
Right.
So it was like, if I don't help Sarah right now, I'm gonna die too. And he waited 20 years for this, so it's like I'm in a panic mode. So it's like we gotta go. I need Ryder. I need Father John. He's the only people that are gonna help me. But yeah, it was definitely like an in between.
How did your character know though that like you were not, like Sarah was in a worse position than you were in the past? I don't know. Like the progression, you know? How did you know? Or maybe you don't know, I don't know.
So, no, I thought about it like during like the character development phase. So when I saw that her dream and that wasn't a dream, that's when I knew when it kicked into gear. When I heard that he's coming, like all those little tidbits was like, no, what I saw back then is definitely what it is now because it all adds up. And that's how I did that.
Cool, good job.
Yeah, and he didn't get oatmeal tongue either, so I think she had it a little bit worse.
And you give the character and Josh a lot of credit too because he didn't roofie her to kidnap her. He brought her in a public place.
That was one of my favorite lines. Like, hey, I brought you to the public place so I won't kidnap you. That's what a kidnapper would say.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what a kidnapper would say. Oh, I didn't put anything in the coffee.
Yeah, what the communal one?
All right, question back here in the left.
This is for the whole cast and crew. Like acting wise, do you guys have anything else lined up?
Go ahead, Brandon.
Tomorrow morning, some of us are back on set at 10 a.m. for a music video that we have with a local musician named Amelie Swan. So we will be shooting a music video for her.
What about October?
And
How many can you do it?
what about October?
What are you doing in October?
If it's not easily you can tell I hate speaking about myself and everything else. That's why I like these guys doing it. I'm going to France in October for a writing retreat that I was accepted for. Some producers out there and other writers, Joe Russo specifically, who worked on Nightmare Cinema, to craft the script to be able to pitch and sell it. So that's what I have down the pipeline that I don't want to talk more about. So please.
I have a couple live casts for a film. It's actually a Nightmare on Elm Street fan film. And then I have probably a couple more films that I can't really talk about yet.
Ooh.
But
I keep my acting stuff on the down low, so because I really don't like talking about it. But I will say I'm writing my own horror novel called The Gentleman, which is basically plays into my paranoia about government agents.
Yeah, I want to read that when it's done.
Well, it's inspired by Green Room, if anyone saw that.
Yes.
Yeah. Good one.
Yes.
Well, in addition to everything Brandon signs us up for, I also run 8213 Desserts, which is the desserts we have tonight.
Well, currently I am also working on a short film that I just finished editing. Well, not finished editing, but it's near completion. It's called Falsely Accused, about a man who is trying to surprise his estranged wife with a nice brand new penthouse suite. But she suspects that he is cheating on her and doesn't realize that the woman he's actually in contact with is his realtor, and ends up going on a rampage. So probably gonna drop late April. It's by Sador Productions. So keep an eye out for Falsely Accused.
As far as me, I do photography, so getting back into that, making creepy stuff, and waiting for them to call.
I don't have any acting specific things lined up, but I've been working with these guys to do a little bit of production stuff on the other side. So working with them on things like their upcoming shoots, seeing the production side of it. So.
Cool.
So pretty much similar to what Jess said. Also work with them more now. I'm in that music video that they were talking about tomorrow, and I'm writing a few things that I just can't talk about yet.
Everyone has secrets they don't want to share.
For Jillian specifically?
Yeah.
You have your sister in another movie?
If she wants to, I think so. That was part of one of the amazing things about Aphasia. We brought on so many friends and family members in all capacities. It was amazing to have so many of our artists we work with. My sister was one of the EMTs with me in the scenes, and she was also one of the lead nurses. People from all parts of our lives were in this movie, in every phase of our being able to take over Barry John's house for years, using Uncle Will's kitchen. You guys have been amazing. You all are jumping on everything you did.
Who did you know at that time? That you were able to take. So you were.
Oh yeah, that was like the local diner we all grew up going to.
Oh, I was about to say, I
and
recognize
just
it.
going to the owner and just saying like, "Hey, we're making a movie. Like, can we film here?" And he's like, "Yeah, just take the keys." And he gave us the keys to shoot overnight. They closed at I think they closed at like 5 or 6, and we were in there. And we shot from like 5 p.m. until maybe like 4 a.m. and 5 a.m. to wrap. We had a couple days because during all this, being an independent artist and filmmaker and everything, you still have to work a day job because there's no money in this. And if you don't love it, then don't do it. So at the same time, everyone on this stage is working day jobs. And we had the overnight shoots at the diner, and my day job starts at 4 a.m. So from 4 a.m. to noon, I am working for a company that I will not disclose. Right after that, it's going into production and going on set and then shooting until 4 a.m. the next day. And that was all the overnight shoots for that. And everyone went through the same thing of coming right after work or coming in even before work. You can only get in like maybe 3 hours of set time before having to run off to do the day job because everyone here was very passionate about it and wanted to make sure that they could, hone and express their craft and who they were to make it everything that you saw up there. And the literal, as Jill said earlier, literal blood, sweat, and tears poured into it because everyone was fucking crying they had to go to work the next day. Because
I feel that. All right. Anybody else? Anybody up there? No other questions?
We have a question over here.
Our wonderful counter person has a question.
Candace.
This is mainly towards Jade, but also applies to everybody else. You guys said a couple times that it took 4 years to film. Was continuity like a big struggle with makeup or like people's hair and people aging over the 4 years and everything like that?
Yes, that's a very big thing. It's once it starts getting spread out, it's not easy to keep continuity at all. Like people's hair change, like you said, and you also can't just make them, cut their hair, dye their hair, and stuff like that. But
to try to stay as confident as you could.
I was really trying.
We tried our best.
Yeah.
We could.
You talk about passion, that's what we mean. They're willing to not shave and sometimes not shower because they have to smell the same.
It reads on camera.
You can see the little smell waves.
I'm talking about myself primarily.
All right, and
I actually have a question for Brandon. Father Bruce.
Father Bruce?
Yeah, like, are we referencing Bruce Willis because of
No, actually.
No,
That's
that was
so.
before.
That was before. Yes, I realized after the fact we made a Sixth Sense joke that Bruce Willis was dead the whole time, and realizing now that is really done in poor taste because it was written before it.
That was
Yes,
before it was even announced. that he had
before
that.
any of that. It was. And
Just happened to coincidence.
it was a very bad coincidence. We'll go with bad coincidence that he now suffers from aphasia and is having a problem. And
Wow.
you know, I'm terrible. Yeah, like a part of me wanted to like I had this thought because I am a terrible human. I was like, maybe we can get him to like be a part of this. Just be like, hey Bruce, we're doing this. No, fucking happened. So I'm really upset to hear about it. He's a great actor, and yeah, it was written before all that. Yeah.
So I do have a very quick. So you knew all the extras?
I knew a good handful of them. Some of them were friends of friends or people who saw like a call via Instagram. So we knew a good amount of them. And
So you know Dave Thomas?
Dave Thomas?
Yeah.
Not by name. I would have to see his face again.
No, I know Dave Thomas for years.
True. We'll talk about it later.
I mean, I'm terrible with names. I'm better with faces. Yeah.
Evil Empire calls.
It's true. We were actually supposed to be in the movie, but the day that you guys were filming, there was a terrible ice storm, and we're like further north. So where we were, it was even worse. And I was like, yeah, man, it's like 67 miles, and it's icy, and I don't want to die. I love the movie, I don't want to die.
That's why we got you here today.
So because it could be in the movie, he made us do this.
Yeah, exactly. Compromise.
And we were rewarded with, we got to see the movie like a month ago?
A month ago, yeah.
And we got to put it out on our channel.
They were the first two to actually see the final product before anything else.
Special.
Yeah, very special.
All right.
I have a question.
Nothing interesting.
So I feel like there isn't a lot of representation of suicide survivors, particularly by hanging. How did you kind of build what you wanted to portray in this character? Like, where did you find resources for that?
So we had talked early on in character development, because obviously it's a heavy topic. The way some people are trying to when they hear that in general. So it's just the concept of we hear mental health all the time. So knowing that even when she was beyond it, she was still struggling with it. Just kind of trying to get in that mindset. So she's not just struggling with these demons, she's losing her mind, but she's also still struggling from the fact that of everything that happened. So, I mean, for me, there's no like sunshine point for Sarah. So it's all kind of definitely down and depressed. So I think the character development that we talked about early on was probably the most helpful going through because it's a sensitive thing, but she's also human. So to portray the highs and lows, especially when she goes home and hangs out with her best friend, I think you see a lot of it there coming back. So it's just talking it out, see what works and what comes across better than others, and kind of take it from there.
I thought it was interesting the stark difference between how the dad handled it and then how the best friend handled it, because he was kind of like, kid gloves, and she was like, you need to tell me what's going on. And I thought you really played well with both of those aspects, kind of like, ugh, dad, but then.
Yeah. I mean, that's life though. You face, different people react to things differently anyway. So. And both were great to work with, so it made it easier.
And I thought that was a fantastic thing you did at the end with the suicide hotline, stuff like that, because it's, sometimes people might think because of the campiness of some parts of the movie and stuff like that there's not mental health is a serious thing, suicide is a serious thing. So kind of like that little thing at the end there, like because you might have somebody who identifies with how one portrays your character. You may have somebody who's like, I kind of feel like that, I kind of feel like that. They go through this whole movie and then all the great information is right there at the end. So bravo to you for doing like the responsible thing and make sure you're getting, in case people feel that way, you can get them help. So
That was one of the things that we really wanted to do because, like, you can, no matter how fun horror movies are and you can laugh and do that, there is a serious undertone with all of them, and they all come from something, whether it's something serious or even something goofy, but there is that undertone, and it never hurts to put it out there because some people need more help than you think.
Alright, right here.
Is there gonna be a blooper reel being released? I mean, there's a lot of outtake bloopers and whatnot.
I have a lot of footage of you, Nick. Yeah.
I know.
We can.
We need a blooper reel. There's a lot of stuff outside that was also shot that wasn't like supposed to be in the film either, and there was a lot of the diner scenes where people were looking in that I know that should be in the blooper reel. So I'm just curious how that.
Yeah, there was one point where we're filming the scenes and you see this girl with a priest, and the diner, if anyone's familiar with Front Yard, is right next to a bar, and while you're shooting there overnight on a Saturday night or Friday night that we did, you get the crowd that walks by the window and has to do a double take and be like, what the fuck is going on? There's a demon in there, this poor rotting waitress that is in our crowd right now pouring blood coffee on the flowers while there's other people just sitting there watching them. That we've had a lot of double takes of like, what the fuck is going on?
Trying to get into like a club or a bar. They started like, because the lighting was weird.
Yeah.
We had to cover the windows.
We did, yeah. We tried our best, but then like sometimes the drapes would fall, and then there's two priests arguing, and people have to watch that.
Is it going to be released on YouTube or DVD?
If we do the gag reel, it'll be YouTube. For sure.
Gag reel, okay.
Yeah.
Second question, kind of forget what it was now, but I think that was the part of it where people were looking in. Did anybody blink an eye when you were getting beat by the Bible? Or were they just casually?
We had one person that was like shot, like they filmed it and they were like, oh, I'm on TikTok or something.
Yeah.
And like
no one really cared.
World
Star. No one asked.
I mean, it was on
Yeah. No one asked if you were okay.
No one asked if I was okay, but literally like this one dude like walked by and then had to come back again with his phone rolling and like was like, oh, like I'm on this, like whatever, like say what you're doing, like what's your movie? And like our demon guy Mike in full makeup, and I'm on the ground just praying for my life while bystanders.
It's a Manning's commercial, please.
Yeah, Manning's commercial.
And has the blood come off the wall?
No.
From the fingernails? No, it's still there.
It's still there. Sorry, Mom.
Did you fix the drywall?
No.
At least? No.
That room is left exactly as it was.
I figured don't fix it. He's gonna make another movie. He's gonna come back in here. He's gonna need it like this again.
Call me Kyle.
Well, the holes were in the drywall before.
They were already there.
We just
Yeah.
Did you make those as a kid?
Probably. We've had that room has survived a lot in its timeline, so I wouldn't be surprised.
This is more of a comment than a question for Chris.
Yeah.
The lighting behind, like, you get the lighting. People think it's like a camera filter or whatnot, but it really isn't. There was a lot of work with the lighting and the cameras. Is that self-taught or?
Honestly, like I learned a lot from Brandon in terms of colored lighting, especially. But a lot of it was from college. A lot of it was just experience over the past 10 years of shooting all sorts of shit. And but I think mostly because you had a lot more experience with horror films and that type of thing. And the color lighting was something that was kind of like new to me. So, but yeah, it's a little bit of both.
It's a shame it's not as like captive as like the rest of the special effects, which is great. But the shooting and lighting alone was like, it kind of like blew me away how intricate it is.
You got to witness a lot of that firsthand too, being on set, which was awesome.
Different times of the day, you have to use different shades over the lights and point the lines in different ways. It was insane.
Yeah. Brandon's awesome, so we all know Any other questions? Questions? So I guess that's it. One last round of applause.